This is your number one station.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And we're back. It's been quite a while, but we're pleased that the chief rabbi of Kiev in Ukraine joined us, Rabbi Yaakov Bleich, president of the Union of Jewish Religious Organizations of Ukraine. Good luck. Thank you for joining us on air. It's been a while. How are you, chief rabbi?
Hi, good luck. How are you?
Good luck. Good luck. Nice to speak with you again.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Zev.
First of all, before we get to Zelensky and the president, I know you have a lot of good information, which you'll share with our audience tonight. What's the situation for Ukrainian Jews? I know a lot of them have left, gone to Poland, other countries. What is the situation now? Is it people staying? Are they still leaving? Please give us a picture.
Most of the people that wanted to leave left already. So we have, different groups of people in Budapest. We have a community, and Tikva Odessa has a big community in Romania and Bucharest. Many Jews are in Israel. Many are in Germany, Switzerland, different places. But basically, people that are in Ukraine now are basically staying.
And do we have any idea what the numbers are, how many Jews are still living there at the moment?
Very, very hard to even make a guesstimate at this point. When the war is over, we'll be able to sort of recoup. But I know that in many of the communities, the larger communities, 80% of the people that were connected to the community left. But they're rebuilding. Like in our community in Kiev today, we have, Baruch Hashem, new people, young people that have come during the war and have joined the community and participated.
Where'd they come from?
They're there. They were there, but they weren't connected to the community. They were unaffiliated. Many Jews have come to all the communities throughout Ukraine during the war more than before.
So there's been a reawakening of Judaism among young people?
Tremendous. Yeah, very big.
Because of the war, or did the October 7th have any role in it too?
I think it was because of the war, but could be October 7th also. Made it even stronger. Baruch Hashem, Ukraine doesn't have the Muslim anti-Israel or anti-Semitic issues that they have in Western Europe. So it's not like they're pushing them back. But the
Ukraine
war
is
definitely
being a cradle of loving Jews. Ukraine, during the Holocaust, one of the worst atrocities against Jews were perpetuated in Ukraine by the Ukrainians.
Yeah, 100%, without in any way minimizing what happened. That was 80 years ago. There's a whole different matzav today in Ukraine than there was then. The people are, are very, very different.
Are you saying that there's less anti-Semitism in Ukraine today than there was 80 years ago?
1,000%. 1,000%. It's a whole different matzav today.
Because
can't compare it in any way.
Because Ukraine, I don't think ever votes with Israel in the United Nations. They usually vote against Israel.
It's not that they never do, but it's very sad to see, by the way, that Ukraine and Israel, they really have, today so much in common, and that they just can't get their act together, to be voting with each other and for each other, and that's always different reasons and stupid excuses why Ukraine didn't vote for Israel, or why Israel doesn't vote for Ukraine. Most of the things they're aligned in their, in their politics and stuff like that. They really should be closer. They are very close in a lot of different things, but it's just stupid why at the UN, Ukraine has so consistently in so many years voted against Israel, and at the same time Israel voted against Ukraine.
Well, I think probably the Ukrainian vote against Israel in the United Nations probably is the reason why Israel is not being more supportive of Ukraine, even though they have been supportive.
No, I don't think that's not true. That's not the reason. The United Nations is the United Nations. The reason why Israel hasn't been very supportive of Ukraine from the beginning of the war was because, first of all, Russia was then in Syria.
And then when they were Russia, that's
fine. And they're still, even now, just this over the weekend, Israel was, revealed. I don't know if it's true or not, but at least in the press, that Israel has been lobbying the United States to allow Russia to occupy the army bases in Syria, because they're afraid that Turkey will come in and fill that vacuum. Turkey is today and unpredictable. It's funny because Turkey is a member of NATO. At one time was a very strong ally, but today to get Turkey into Syria would be much worse for Israel than having Russia in it.
Right.
So there are geopolitical, things that I say Israel has to worry about Israel, not about Ukraine. You know what I mean? Ukraine has to worry about Ukraine, not about Israel. That's the way it is. But where their interests converge, they've done a lot of stuff together.
Now, I want to get to the President Zelensky, President Trump get together in the White House. Tell us, what do you make of what happened? What's your spin on it?
So first of all, there's a lot of history here that has to be taken in the context of what happened. If you just look at everything from the beginning of the meeting to the end of the meeting, it's very important because on Friday, it's before Shabbos, they didn't really have time to listen to the whole entire conversation from beginning to end, and you come out with different ideas. But after Shabbos, I listened to the entire conversation. So I think that there were a number of mistakes that Zelensky made. And I also think that the United States had it, Trump and his administration had it in for Zelensky as well. Mistake number one doesn't even came to Washington. The Americans told me there's no need to come now. Come when we're ready to talk about a peace agreement. Now they were signing this mineral thing. And there were certain people within the president's office in Ukraine that felt that it would be a good PR shtick for him to be seen together with Trump at the Oval Office. So they pushed for him to come to Washington to the Oval Office. I don't think he should have come in hindsight. But even when he did come, I think that he, to a certain extent, overstepped what he should have been doing by asking his questions in front of the press. This were discussions that should have been inside, even though he may have had a good point. And the point is that Trump took Putin out of the basement. Putin is a murderer. He's an aggressor. He started a war against Ukraine. They're killing civilians on a daily basis. And it's important for people to know this. On a daily basis, they're shooting houses, hospitals, schools, colleges, universities, markets, stores, just people in the street. They're shooting them and killing them for no reason. This has nothing to do with the war. This is not going against military targets or soldiers. Just plain civilians are being killed every day.
You told
Number
me
one.
by missiles, by gunfire. How is this being done?
Well, everything. There's missiles, there's gunfire, there are drones, all different ways. But the fact is that people are being killed every day. Civilians are being killed every day, besides the soldiers. Trump has not, sort of brought Putin out of the basement. The guy was a pariah, international pariah. If it would have pressed him more, instead of putting him up and making him into a regional, to a world power again and saying, oh, how can we reopen our diplomatic stuff? Instead of saying, listen, as soon as you stop the war, we'll talk to you and we'll make things back the way they should be. He sort of strengthened and empowered him and, so gives him the feeling that he's right. Now, for the Ukrainian people that have been suffering from Russia for so many years, because this war really started in 2014. And let me remind you that, and this is something that's very important to know, the United States signed the Budapest Memorandum in 1994, assuring Ukraine's borders. They gave them assurances that their borders will not be moved. It was signed by the United States, by Russia, Great Britain, and France in Budapest, 1994. So really, the United States should have some responsibility. Ukraine, on the basis of that agreement, gave up their nuclear weapons. And the Americans sort of ignored it in 2014. Obviously, the Russians did also. So there is a lot of history that has to be taken into consideration, to the fact that, America is just, isn't just in it now. Another thing, they keep on mentioning is $350 billion. Ukraine didn't get $350 billion. The United States spent $350 billion replenishing its own arms. The army of the United States, the U.S. Army, and they gave away to Ukraine the old arms that they're not using anymore, which has a value of between 118, 188 billion dollars, depending who you ask. I'm not saying it's not; it's a lot of money, and Zelensky and the Ukrainian people have 1,000 times to thank you to the United States. They're constantly saying thank you and thank you and thank you and thank you, American people. So the attack that Vance had on him. The Vance attacked him. What did you say? Thank you? Did you say thank you for the meeting date? They were humiliating him. I want to remind you that Zelensky, that short little Jew from Ukraine, he cut Putin down to size. Everybody was afraid of Putin. But at the end, the Rebbe Shalom runs this world. They made that the Ukrainian army, which was a ragged army, almost with nothing in 2014, in 2022 cut down the Russian army to size and humiliated Putin all over. We don't know how this is going to turn out. But every single European leader came out supporting Zelensky, every single one, besides Orban, which is, I don't know, he's more on Russia's side than on Europe's side, let's say. But they all came out supporting Zelensky, and who knows, because they're saying now, they're talking about coming up with money to support Ukraine. They gave, as it is, they gave a lot of money to Ukraine already, more than the United States, by the way, even though it's hard for Trump to admit it. But they did give more money to support Ukraine than the United States gave. And now they're using a lot of the money that they froze Russian assets. They're giving it also to Ukraine. So at the end of the day, I don't know how this thing is going to play out. I know that the Rebbe Shalom runs this world, and there were a lot of surprises in 2022 when the war started, Russia against Ukraine. Who knows what's going to happen? I think that Zelensky is going to have to apologize to Trump, and he's going to have to come back here to the United States and sit down again in America and try and work something out. Maybe not him, maybe one of his people, his foreign minister, maybe his prime minister, maybe somebody else, maybe not with Trump, maybe one of Trump's people, but that's what I think is going to happen at the end. So it's not
I
like
agree with you. I think it's not over. It's going to have to be. There will be signed a mineral deal. That's pretty much was a done deal from what I read. You probably know better than I.
It wasn't totally done deal. It was a deal that they were going to sign, but a lot of the deal they were signing was that they'll work out the details later. There was a lot of things that still had to be worked out, and basically what's happening with the money. In other words, they're going to take out the minerals, sell them, what to do with the money. They're supposed to set up a fund. Who's managing the fund? Where's the money from that fund going to go? 50% was going to go to the United States, 50% to Ukraine, and used to rebuild Ukraine. Let me tell you something. The Americans have been very nice to the Ukrainians. They've given them a lot of assistance, a lot of aid, a lot of weapons, even though it wasn't always forthcoming and it wasn't enough and it wasn't fast enough. It's at the end of the day, without the weapons from the United States, Ukraine could never have gotten where they've gotten.
Well, it's billions of dollars that were given to Ukraine.
Yeah, and I'm telling you again, it's this two cheshbonis. One organization that counts, it said 118 billion. Another one said 180 billion dollars worth of weapons. So it's a lot of money. There's no question about it. And don't forget, the United States has advanced weapons. With the advanced weaponry of the United States are much more advanced than the Russian weapons. They're able to get places.
Our guest is Rabbi Yaakov Bleich, the chief rabbi of Kiev in Ukraine, president of the Union of Jewish Religious Organizations of Ukraine. We're going to be right back. If you'd like to join our conversation, 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. Email is a wonderful way to get some of your questions answered. Zev@talklinenetwork.com, Zev@talklinenetwork.com. You can also WhatsApp us. We have a new WhatsApp number, 212-769-1925, 212-769-1925. You can WhatsApp us your questions. Coming up in a little while, we'll speak to son of PLO, now a born Jew. Mark Holler was born and raised in Kuwait, a pro-Palestinian refugee. His father was active with Yasser Arafat in the PLO. Today he's living in Jerusalem as an Orthodox Jew. His amazing story, all upcoming on our special edition. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Most people don't have enough life insurance. How do you know if you have the right amount, the right type, the most cost-effective policy to protect your family when you need it the most? Hi, this is Ann Lowy, independent life insurance expert for over 35 years. I help my clients navigate all that. And because I'm independent, my loyalty is to you, the client, not the big insurance companies. I'll help you get the best deal out there. After all, you go to a doctor when you need medical advice. You go to a lawyer when you want legal advice. You go to a rabbi for halakhic advice. You should go to an insurance professional to get the right policy for you and your family. Call me and I'll help you figure it all out. Again, my loyalty is to you, my client. The phone 646-335-5519, 646-335-5519.
Purim is a time for joy, celebration, delicious, healthy foods. Elevate your Purim feast with De La Rosa's 613's white and dark balsamic glazes made with simple, delicious ingredients and no added sugars, because great taste should never come at the cost of your health. Rich, velvety, and absolutely delicious, our white balsamic glaze adds sweet, tangy touch, while dark balsamic glaze delivers deep, bold richness. Drizzle them over Capri salads, cheese plates, grilled vegetables, salmon, chicken, steak, juicy summer berries, thin crust pizza, even vanilla ice cream. And because they're certified kosher for Passover, vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO, they're the perfect way to enjoy bold flavor, guilt-free. Find De La Rosa 613's white and dark balsamic glazes at kosher stores, Roy Markets, Amazon, DelaRosa613.com. Call 718-333-0333 or email info@delarosa613.com. From all of us at De La Rosa 613, wishing you a happy, healthy, and delicious Purim.
Podcasts are everywhere, but cutting through the noise is tough. Did you know of the 5 million podcasts worldwide, half of them only get 30 listeners? Want to reach a bigger audience? Think radio. Talkline Network gets you targeted listeners who are ready to engage with your message. Host your own show with us and supercharge your podcast's reach. We'll help you connect with the right audience. For a free consultation, call Talkline Network today at 212-769-1925, extension 100. That's 212-769-1925, or email zevbrenner@gmail.com. That's 212-769-1925, extension 100.
Hello. Suffering from foot pain that's dragging you down? This is Dr. Uriel Levy, your trusted board-certified podiatrist with over 3 decades of experience. I'm here to bring relief to your feet. With expertise in orthopedic and medical foot issues, I craft custom orthotics for 75 to 100 patients each week, meaning countless happy feet. Medicaid managed care, including Fidelis, United Healthcare, and Anthem, covers custom-made orthotics if you need them. Plus, I combine reflexology and Eastern medicine to bring a holistic approach to foot and lower extremity care. Think of me as a soul healer, not just a podiatrist. Whether it's plantar fasciitis, bunions, or everyday aches, don't let foot pain hold you back. Please visit me at my Borough Park office at 1453 44th Street. That's 1453 44th Street, or in Spring Valley at 11 Charles Lane. Call 347-386-5237. That's 347-386-5237. Or visit drsoulhealer.com. That's Dr. DrSolehealer.com to schedule your appointment today. Your feet will thank you. Don't let foot pain defeat you.
The Queens Jewish Link would like to thank all the Talkline listeners who came to their bar mitzvah celebration and their networking event this past Wednesday night. To advertise in the Queens Jewish Link, call 917-549-6145. That's 917-549-6145, or email queensjewishlink@gmail.com. That's queensjewishlink@gmail.com.
Hey, this is Alan Dershowitz. One of the most important Jewish institutions in the world today is Talkline with Zev Brenner. He is so smart, and he is so innovative, and he has so many interesting guests. I don't know what Yiddishkeit, I don't know what New York, I don't know what the world would do without Zev. So Zev, Yasher Koach, may you go from strength to strength and keep informing us and educating us and keep fighting for Jewish values.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981. Please call us with your questions and comments at 212-769-1925. That's 212-769-1925. or email us at zevbrenner@gmail.com.
And we're back. Our guest is Chief Rabbi of Kiev in Ukraine, Rabbi Yaakov Dov Bleich, President of the Union of Jewish Religious Organizations of Ukraine. Shalom in Borough Park. Your question for our guest. Go ahead, Shalom.
Yeah, good luck, Zev. I really don't understand what's up with this hashkafa of this rabbi that you have. I think it's a bit distorted. He keeps saying all the time, Hashem helps, Hashem helps. Well, doesn't he realize that Hashem put him as a shliach to take revenge of the Ukrainians who helped torture Jews in the time of the Holocaust, in the time of World War II? It's very plain to see. It's very easy to see that. Any person who was Emunat Hashem understands that that Putin is taking revenge for what Hashem put him as a shliach to take revenge for what the Ukrainians did. And if Zelensky is a Jew and he joins Ukrainians Rishoyim, then the halacha is in such a case, the Jew who joins such a shop, Marim B'lay Malin. So what's the whole issue of advocating with Zelensky? I really don't get it. I really don't get it.
I can explain. I can answer the question.
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something. First of all, I'm happy to hear that you know what goes on in Shamayim more than anybody else. Most of us aren't in a hurry to get up there. Please let me answer. I tried. Please let me answer. You asked the question. If you're interested in the answer, so please listen. Now, number one, I'm not saying that the Ukrainians were tzaddikim. They were definitely Rishoyim. I just don't know. I don't know how the Eibishter and when the Eibishter wants to take revenge. For your information, this is Stam information, the ones that are suffering more are the Russians, not the Ukrainians. Because eastern Ukraine is inhabited by Russians and not ethnic Ukrainians. Number one. Number two, the Russians are suffering also, with thousands of soldiers being killed every single day. So I don't know if Putin was sent as Shliach B'Eibishter to take revenge of the Ukrainians. But why can't you just let me finish? Why can't you let me finish?
Finish, then I'll let you respond. Go ahead.
If Putin is the Shliach or not the Shliach to take revenge of Ukraine, the Rebbeinu Shalom is running the world. So the Rebbeinu Shalom will do what has to be done. I'm not telling God what to do. I'm just sitting in a country that has hundreds of thousands of Yidden. And by the way, Russia has probably over 1 million Yidden. And a lot of Yidden are suffering are in Sakana in different ways, different places. And I'm doing what I see, what I think has to be done to try and help this country that at this point today in time is helpful and good to the Jews. What happened 80 years ago is important, that the Rebbeinu Shalom will definitely take care of. But I don't think that I'm God's shliach, or you, I don't think are the one, the place of Gador to tell us what's God's shliach is or whatever. In historical perspective, we could look and see what happened. In the meantime, the Eibishter gave more siyata d'shmaya to Zelensky to beat down the Russians. And maybe, just maybe, the hundreds of years that Jews suffered under the Russian czars and had their kids taken away and put into the army and all those things were also bad things, and maybe the Eibishter is being Noikem and Putin and then the Russians. You ever think of it that way?
Who are you to weigh which is worse? Who are you to weigh which is worse?
You're the one that's weighing. You called up and made an accusation. Ukrainians were murderers and Putin is being Noikem, and you have the eyes to see it. I'm saying I don't know. It's either this way or the other way. I don't know which way. You're the person, not me. It's funny how you're throwing that question to me, how I know. I don't know. You know.
All right, Shalom. Is that you there? I guess he's not there anymore.
Yeah, I did knock him out.
By the way, we got just expressing your alarm. We did receive some emails and regarding what he's saying, and basically what they're saying is, how does this guy know what Shemayim, which means heaven, is doing? Did he get a telegram, a phone call, a text? Give me a break. All right.
I see what the Eibishter does. I'm just looking. I don't say what's going on in Shemayim. I see what's going on here, but I'm trying to interpret it, but understanding that the Rebbeinu Shalom runs this world, not Donald Trump, not Putin, and not Zelensky. The Rebbeinu Shalom runs the world, and Lev Melech B'Yad Hashem, and we see a lot of interesting things happening. It's obvious that's the Rebbeinu Shalom running it and not anybody else. And by the way, I don't know if I told you, I think I may have told you this on the previous things, but when the war broke out, Zelensky called me and asked me to please ask the Jews of the world to pray for him and for Ukraine and for the Ukrainian army. And he said that without the help of God, there's no way we can win this war. This is what was a private conversation on the phone between me and him. Nobody else is on the phone that I know of. At that same day, he announced those words at a press conference, saying that without the help of God, we can't win this war because we're outnumbered and outgunned. And I told him when I met him, I said those were probably the most important words he said throughout the entire war, is to rely on the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Have you had contact with the president Zelensky since then?
Since when?
That conversation you had with him?
Yeah, sure, many times. Yeah, we met quite a few times. So we meet throughout the year a number of times. We meet. I haven't spoken to them since Friday, but
what his what's the reaction been in Ukraine as far as you can? I know you're here in the
Let me
States.
tell you something. The only thing that happened in Ukraine is that Zelensky's his ratings went up after Friday. I told you in Europe his ratings went up all over, everywhere, and even in the United States. I think that it's obvious. First of all, the Democrats, of course, are attacking Trump for the way he reacted and the way he acted. And a lot of people think that it was good that he stood up to him because he was being bullied. He was being bullied by Vance and by Trump. I don't know. I think if you could fight back against
people will say that, like you said earlier, the President Zelensky should not have answered. This is not the forum to go into a whole long speech about
100%.
So that itself, there was a question. Some people felt he was set up. The conventional.
Yeah, he wasn't. I don't think so. I also thought he was set up. But then when I saw the whole thing, he went and asked the question. When the journalists finished, Trump said the last question. When that was over, he said, "Can I ask a question?" Then he asked J.D. Vance a question. I don't think he should have done that. I think that was a question he could have asked later between, the 4 hours or 8 or 10 or 16 that they had.
There was also some talk about the fact that Zelensky should have worn a suit and tie.
Now, I don't agree with that. I want to tell you something about Zelensky. He's an interesting guy, Zelensky. But when he became president, there was a guy by the name of Oleg Sentsov, who was a film producer that was captured by the Russians and was a prisoner in Russia. And he said, and he met with Sentsov's wife, and he put on a bracelet, free Oleg Sentsov. And he said, "I'm not taking this bracelet off my arm until Oleg Sentsov is freed." And he wore it until the guy got freed, which was 2 years later. When the war broke out, he took off his suit. He said, "I will identify with my soldiers at the front. I'm the commander-in-chief. As long as they're wearing military uniforms, I'm going to wear this uniform." It's his way of showing that I am identifying with the war that's going on. His people are being killed. Again, it's not, you can't judge the man without understanding who he is and what his personality is. He's he's not a diplomat and he's not a politician. Even though he's an actor, he's a good actor, by the way. When he became president, I told him, "I hope you'll be as good of a president as you are an actor." But he Lamaisa, he identifies with the people. He's very much with the people. With all of his chesronis and milas that he may have. Again, I don't know if he would even win the re-election, but if Trump keeps on beating up on him and saying that he's not the right leader for the Ukrainian people, that's only going to strengthen the resolve of the Ukrainian people and make it, because the president of Ukraine is chosen by Ukraine and by the Ukrainian people, not by Donald Trump.
But the fact is, though, is that, there's been accusations that a lot of money that was going to Ukraine was siphoned off for corrupt use, right? You heard that too? And
100%, I've heard it.
Billions of dollars have disappeared. So what's the reaction to that? Because
I'll tell you a secret.
Yes.
I'll tell you a secret. No money, when the United States gives aid to foreign countries, in most of the cases, no money leaves the United States. All that money has to be spent. It's mandated by U.S. law. It must be spent in the United States. So if you're asking me if there's corruption in the United States, if it was siphoned off in the United States, 100%. We know that because we see what Doge is doing. But let me tell you that all of the money and all the arms and everything that comes to Ukraine is controlled by the United States, even when it gets to Ukraine. They don't have a chance to siphon anything off because they don't have any access.
So you're saying no money goes directly to Ukraine, everything gets...
No such thing. There's no thing, no money. There's no bank transfers into Ukraine's bank.
So how could...
And if anything does go there, it's controlled by the U.S. Embassy. They have special ambassadors that control all of the financial aid that comes in there.
What you're saying is interesting. Then how can you say that Ukrainians have been taking money if there not been direct deposits to the Ukrainian people? or to the Ukrainian government?
That's my question. I don't know. You tell me the same thing.
Yeah.
The arms come as arms and are controlled by the United States till they get to Ukraine, and even in Ukraine until they get to the front lines.
We have to delve more into that. I'd be curious to know. In a few moments we have remaining. I know in times when we've had you on, the Jewish community has been, of course, under attack, not because the Jewish community, because the Ukraine is being attacked. You mentioned before that Russia's indiscriminately shooting missiles at civilian centers, etc. How is the Jewish community being protected in this time? Because if there's indiscriminate bombings and missile shootings and gunshots, so isn't it dangerous for the Jewish community? Why are they still there? Is there any way to get them out?
There are many people that whoever wanted to leave left. At this point, it's difficult for people that are up to the age of 60, men. They don't allow them out because of the
draft.
And the Rebbe Shalom watches over us, and he should continue to watch over us. And there were Jews that were killed fighting. There were Jewish buildings that were hit. And, every once in a while, because it's indiscriminate bombing, the Rebbe Shalom should watch over us. But every night there are, the air raid sirens go off in Kiev and throughout Ukraine, different places. And we daven today that he should watch over us.
I think the orphanage house was moved, and some of the other centers were moved out of the country, correct?
The Tikva orphanage left with the children there in Bucharest. Many left and some came back. Everybody's doing whatever they can and trying to keep things, as upbeat as they can. But in our community, I can tell you, in Kiev, we have begun what I call bigger and better, rebuilding during the war and trying to do everything bigger and better than it was before the war.
Are you rebuilding despite the fact that you can still be under attack and the buildings could
1,000%.
So why are you
1,000%. We're trying to get as many Jews as we can to Judaism. That's our job.
So when you say rebuilding, you're rebuilding the actual physical facility, or you just
No. Our physical facilities, for instance, the school building, we have to put in bomb shelters now in every school, in the kindergarten, in the shul, and every building has to have bomb shelters now. So that's the only construction that we've been doing as far as that's concerned.
And where's the money coming from?
We have been raising money. We raise money. We get from different foundations and from different donors, from the Joint, from the Lauder Foundation helped us, and others to build bomb shelters. The government helped us also in some of the buildings. But the idea is that no school or kindergarten or any public building can be open now without having a bomb shelter, which is a new thing for Ukraine, obviously since 2022. It didn't exist before that.
Well, of course, it's important because safety is paramount and has
1,000%.
to be dealt with it too. And you keep going back and forth between the United States and Ukraine.
Yeah, my son is here basically full time running and rebuilding, and I'm going back tomorrow, Mr. Hashem.
Any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience about the situation in Ukraine and with the president?
I think that the main thing for us Jews, first of all, is to concentrate on what's happening in Eretz Yisrael, which is very, very important for all of the Jews throughout the world. And that at the same time, as a Jewish people, I think we are davening, and we should be davening for peace, so that nobody should be killed, because every civilian that's killed, even the non-Jews that were killed, the Russians and the Ukrainians are dying every day. And here I must say that I agree with Donald Trump that the killing should stop. The death has to stop. And there has to be a way that they get, that this shooting and killing of the soldiers, he talked about thousands of people that are dying every day, that should be stopped somehow. As a Jew, that's what I ask for. There should be peace. That that's part of the Avtacha that we have for when Mashiach comes, and we're waiting for it.
Now, of course, from what President Trump has said, that if peace would come, Ukraine would have to agree to lose a significant portion of territory. Would that be acceptable to the Ukrainian people as far as you can tell?
It depends how it's done and what's done. Right now, they're not talking about a peace agreement. They're talking about a ceasefire and an agreement, which I think there are different ways that they can say that. At this point, we're going to stop the shooting, put the line down where it is now, and renegotiate in 5 years or 10 years. But in the meantime, at least stop the killing, because the killing is senseless at this point. They're not, moving an inch this way, inch that way. But they should. There's no reason why Ukraine should have to give up land, why any country should have to give up land. This land historically never belonged to Russia, and it doesn't belong to Russia. But this, this is what it is. It's as they say, it is what it is. It belonged to the Russian Empire. I mean, when I say to Russia, I mean to
Currently,
in 1991 they made an agreement on boundaries and on borders, and that's what should be respected.
Rabbi Yaakov Bleich, Chief Rabbi Kiev and Ukraine, thank you for being here with us. Safety and God should give you strength to continue, and look forward to having you back.
I mean, thanks a lot, Zev, and stay well. It's always good to talk to you.
Always good to speak with you too, the Chief Rabbi of Ukraine, and here on the Talk. Good Chodesh here on the Talkline Network.